Hi, I'm Taylor Sproul.
And I'm Liz June.
And this is Neat. Well, this is the video companion to our Scotch episode.
Yes.
Or Peated Scotch episode.
Yes, Peat. If the peat is neat.
Peat episode.
We have a peated Scotch.
Yes, good old Laphroaig.
And you can probably find this pretty easily.
And as far as a single malt Scotch goes, affordable, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to do 2 cocktails that feature our Laphroaig. But along with working with Peated Scotch, there's another concept in mixology.
There's a concept.
There's a concept that we're going to be talking about specifically when involving single malt Scotch, and that is split base. A split base it's that. The base of a cocktail, which is like your 2-ounce pour of like one spirit, you can take that and split it in half, like do 1 ounce of one thing, another ounce of another thing. We do that for a lot of reasons. One is to get different flavor qualities from each element of your split base. So like if I want to split like a rye whiskey and a mezcal, I'm going to kind of overlap like a smoke and a spice, and that'll make a really good split base together. So sometimes we do split bases to overlap flavors. Sometimes we do split base to introduce people to spirits they might be uncomfortable with.
Oh,
Like
super peaty Scotch.
Possibly, yeah. The 2 reasons that we tend to split base fancy ass Scotch. One, the most obvious reason, this is a bit of an expensive ingredient. So me giving you an ounce of this in a drink, it's still gonna give you a lot of flavor, and I can split bases with something a little cheaper, makes a more affordable drink.
Mm-hmm.
You're not paying $20 for a cocktail.
Perfect.
And the one that really matters is to tame an ingredient that is otherwise too dominant as a full pour on its own. 2 ounces of Laphroaig as a base is gonna kind of overtake a drink.
So if you did a cocktail that just used 2 ounces of Laphroaig, all that you would taste is just the Laphroaig.
Exactly.
And you might as well just then sip on some Scotch.
Exactly,
We're gonna
which
do
is
that.
totally fine.
Totally fine.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons that we might split up a base of a traditional cocktail recipe. When we're dealing with like a beautiful spirit like Laphroaig, I think it's better to let it take a bit of a partnership with a spirit that'll balance it out in like a cool way, you know?
Yeah. And also because we make cocktails on this podcast, so
yeah, that's
not
also
just-
yeah, we're not just gonna sip Scotch.
we could, but
I'd be down for that, not against that, but yeah, so we're gonna make cocktails with it. The first is going to be a play off of a traditional Scotch cocktail. Well, it's a modern tradition. It's one of those Sam Ross creations. It's a modern classic, the Penicillin. The Penicillin is traditionally like ginger, honey, Scotch, blended Scotch, lemon, and then it's shaken and topped with a float. But the Peated Scotch is just a float over top to get you the nose and the slight taste of it.
Ooh.
Yeah. We're gonna up the quotient of single malt Scotch on this. We're gonna do that split base. So instead of 2 ounces of a blended Scotch, we're actually gonna do 1 whole ounce of Laphroaig, and we're gonna pair that with 1 whole ounce of Applejack. So my hope with this is that Applejack is kind of nice, and it has a good spice quality to it, like a nice dry spice and a little bit of fruitiness. So that's gonna pair, I think, in a cool way with Laphroaig. We're gonna keep the ginger. For our sweet element, we're actually, instead of honey, we're gonna do a maple rosemary syrup as our sweetener. It's gonna be penicillin adjacent, but with a maple sweetener and a rosemary element, and some Applejack.
Awesome.
So,
Let's get to it. Let's make a cocktail.
While I make this drink, I think you should come up with a good name for it, because I didn't think of it.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
Shit.
Cool.
So to start, I'm just gonna take just a couple pieces of this is just fresh ginger. I'm gonna muddle it up in the bottom of my shaker tin. Pretty traditional sour build, 3/4 ounce of lemon juice. 3/4 ounce of, this is a rosemary infused maple syrup. So for my split base, I'm gonna do 1 ounce of Applejack.
Applejack.
Nice, bright, spicy, fruity. And then 1 ounce of Laphroaig.
Strain it in there. Ooh, we're gonna put some herbs in there. Are we gonna light it on fire?
Light it on fire.
Light
Now,
it on fire.
this is gonna get us a big burn because this is fresh rosemary. It's just gonna kind of lightly toast. If you want a nice bright burn on your rosemary or your herbs, on cocktails that I've done this on before behind the bar, I've kept a little cap full of like high proof alcohol on the side.
Okay.
So you can spritz it down with just like overproof spirit and burn
and
it.
Get a little fire.
Just to, you know, to save yourself some time. But
nice.
it's still, as you can see, it's still smoking nicely. So you can get a pretty good smoke on it pretty quickly. What name did you come up with?
It's a Penicillin. Penicillin? This herb is on fire. You don't like it?
Oh, Penicillin?
It's a Penicillin.
Penicillin.
Cheers. That is nice.
That's a nice drink. I don't think the peat overwhelms. I think you get a good, like, kind of dry, fruity, spicy quality. The rosemary definitely plays in. You get some earthiness. It tastes like very fall, but not fall in the way of, like, you know, cinnamon and the spice that we're kind of accustomed to. This is a bit more just warm.
Yeah, a little smoky, a little earthy, like you're sitting around a bonfire. Maybe someone's casting spells.
It tastes a little witchy.
The subtitle for the Penicillin is "This herb is on fire." This herb is on fire, fire, fire.
If you're a fan of a penicillin, this is a fun alternative to try.
Yeah.
A little bit heavier on the smoke, but the rosemary really fills out that smoke profile, so give it a try. The make element, which we're going to use in our next drink too, is the rosemary infused maple syrup, and that couldn't be easier. That's literally just a 2-to-1 maple syrup. I thinned it out a little bit so it mixed it easier, and then it's infused with a couple tablespoons of rosemary.
We're gonna give you another way to use it.
Yeah, with scotch. Another common cocktail structure that we see a split base utilized in is an old-fashioned build.
Hey, here's another way to do an old-fashioned.
And it makes sense. An old-fashioned is very simple. Your backbone really relies on your base spirit, so it's a great opportunity to highlight a really unique blend of two base spirits. What I thought would be fun to do is play off the natural smokiness of Laphroaig with a different kind of smokiness that you find in Mezcal. So we're going to do an ounce of Laphroaig and an ounce of Mezcal as our base. For our sweet element, we're going to use that rosemary maple syrup again, and then for our bitter, we're going to do a blend of bitters. We're going to do some orange bitters, which is pretty traditional and old-fashioned. You know, you see that mix. And instead of Ango, we're going to use these chocolate molé bitterman bitters. I really love these. These are cocoa, cinnamon, and they have a paprika element that's going to play really nice. And for a little bit of a fun element, we're going to do a smoked grapefruit twist on this.
Oh shit.
Grapefruit pairs beautifully with mezcal, with rosemary, even with chocolate, with smoke, and I think it's gonna make a natural jump to pair with the Laphroaig. But this is fun because I actually don't know, because we're just making shit up, and that's fun.
Okay, cool, let's do it.
I'm gonna do 1 dropper full of my Bitterman's Molé bitters. And then I'm gonna do 2 dashes. This is Angostura orange bitters. You can use whatever kind of orange bitters. If you've got the Regans, that's great. It's gonna be an ounce each of Laphroaig and Mezcal. And as our sweet element, we're just gonna use a 1/4 ounce of this rosemary maple syrup.
Beautiful.
Just gonna stir it over ice.
What are you doing with that grapefruit?
I am going to have a little smoked grapefruit garnish.
Ooh. Are you gonna set it on fire?
I'm gonna set it on fire! I love it!
This fruit is on fire.
Fire!
Ah!
So here is our little Mezcal, Laphroaig, grapefruit, maple, rosemary. I don't know. Did you come up with a name for it?
Oh, I feel like a fashionable is a good,
Smoky. Rosemary's Baby, something about Satan, smoky.
It's fashion, smoke, evil, fire, fashion, Satan.
What about wealth and taste? Please allow me to introduce myself. I am a man of wealth and taste.
Oh, I like that.
Well, this is going to be our wealth and taste.
Wealth and taste.
I know that I named it after a song about the devil, but I also feel like this is just the Capricorn Old Fashioned. Which, let's be real, if Capricorn had a drink, it would be an Old Fashioned.
They're right about that.
It's very earthy. If you're a fan of an Old Fashioned, I think you'd be really psyched on this drink because it's smoky, it's dry, it is not sweet, but that maple is very like warm in the background. And that rosemary is very like fills out the palate with that earthiness. Just a really grounded, like full flavor Old Fashioned.
I love it. It's very well balanced. I'm kind of hit or miss with an Old Fashioned.
I am too. I find there are a couple elements that I think go wrong with Old Fashions for me. The biggest one is that I think people don't get that you have to have a viscous sweetener.
Oh yeah.
Like, you need the mouthfeel of a sweet, thick sweetener. Like you need that.
Yeah.
And then the other part is that I think if I want just something spirit forward, I'll just order a spirit. Like it's got to be well balanced. So.
Oh yeah. Well balanced, like wealth and taste.
Wealth and taste. Here are our two Laphroaig offerings for you. Obviously, the recipes will be down below.
Yeah.
I mean, compared to other single malt scotches, it's not that crazy expensive. It's about what you pay for a good bottle of bourbon, and presents such a strong flavor that you can cut it down with other spirits as we've exhibited. This is one of my essential like back bar ingredients. If you're a fan of smoke, if you're a fan of peat, if you're a fan of that weird band-aidy taste that Scotch offers that I love.
I never taste the Band-Aid. I don't get that, and I think that's a good thing for me. I'm glad.
Well, I mean, I taste it, but I also like the Band-Aid taste, so I don't know how to feel about that.
Hey,
but yeah.
You can feel however you want to feel about Band-Aid taste. I just want to smell it.
Laphroaig is good, specifically this bottle. Yeah.
You can become a friend of Laphroaig if you buy a bottle. Inside the case, there's a booklet that has a code on it. You can go to their website and become a friend of Laphroaig, which means that you own a square foot of land on Isla, and they owe you a dram of scotch. So.
When Americans are out of time out, we'll figure out how to get to Scotland.
Aww,
maybe.
Us naughty Americans.
We weren't naughty.
We're in America, so we're naughty by default. So, you know we're sorry for being Americans.
I'm really sorry.
But that's some really cool stuff that you can do with Laphroaig and also with split-based cocktails. There's 2 ideas for you, and we hope that you will try them out and let us know how you like them. Please let us know in the comments, and you know, if you want to just talk about your general idea of what you think about peat, we'd love to hear from you.
Well, I've been Taylor Smoon.
And I've been Liz June.
And this has been
Neat. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Thank you.